I have left what's everyone? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Frugal BC. We got a great show for you today. Boy, is it an interesting time. Another Joseph Trader says another 2-hour video of you rambling for something that could have been done in 1 minute. Wow, that's great. Yeah, we cover like so. You really think? I'm sorry. I usually gather about between 6 and a dozen news stories, and you think those could be done in 1 minute? You fucking idiot. You know what? You're banned. Can I ban you? How do I ban you? No, if you don't like it, don't fucking watch, asshole. Unbelievable. What a great comment to start with. All right, we're going to ignore that. Moderators, feel free to kick him out if you want. But yeah, what a crazy day in the markets today. Just really just in the last week, boy, it's been an interesting time for the algo fan. People are really ticked off. And yeah, I don't even know what to say about it anymore. It's crazy how much is it's really crazy how much is going on here. And people are just we got some OGs that have announced that they're leaving. Bloopity bloop says, "Sup Frugal, what's up, buddy? Welcome to have you on the show. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it." Yeah, quite a day. We got a lot of stuff to cover. We're going to talk about ETFs because XRP and Hedera are looking strong, like they're going to have ETFs launching really soon. Good things happening for that, so we'll cover all that news. Yeah, I definitely made a point to put together a decent amount of XRP and Hedera news today, so you'll see that, plus plenty to talk about in Algorand. And I put out a little poll, said, do you still love Algorand? So we're going to cover the results of that. I think that's really, really interesting. But yeah, first off, the markets, they actually changed since this morning. Things were actually looking pretty strong this morning, and then back to a whole lot of red, which is not super fun. So by the way, if you're just joining us, if you haven't been here before, if you're on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. And if you're not already subscribed, please do so. And just hitting the like button, that shows it to more people, especially early on in the stream, really helps this get out to more people. And I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Non-Fungible Domains. If you want that .algo address, it makes doing everything in Algorand so much easier. And they got vaults, segments, it really does make doing things in Algorand so much simpler. Pretty much everyone, if you're going to be doing stuff in Algorand, you're going to want a .algo address. It's just a lot simpler. So please do check that out. Otherwise, you're also brought to you by Marcus Aurelius, which is a meme coin and NFT project on the Algorand blockchain. So you definitely want to check those guys out. Spreading the word about Stoicism, which I love. You definitely check that out in the description below. But yeah, we don't have a lot of comments, so why don't we move right to the markets? Got a nice little audience here on YouTube, though, and on X. Got a few of you on Kick, by the way, if you're on Kick. If you're on Kick, leave us a comment there. It's nice to get some comments on Kick. We haven't... We've been having a few viewers on there, so that's nice. Nice to see, and I do monitor that chat, so I don't think it comes up in my OBS, however. So definitely check that out. Definitely hit us up on there. We want to see you on Kick. If you're watching there, leave us a comment. Otherwise, we are also on X, and I do see comments from X as well. So definitely leave comments there. But why don't we get right to the markets here? In fact, you know what? Hold on one second. Hey, Snail's in the chat. What is up, Snail? Appreciate you being here. Snail, you did not seem to appreciate my last XRP video. Am I correct on that? Appreciate you being here. I just gotta fix something here. Oh, and thanks for banning that guy. Appreciate that. Snail, you did not seem to appreciate my last XRP video. Am I correct on that? Appreciate you being here. I just gotta fix something here. Oh, yeah, he's just gone now. Thanks for banning that guy. You know what? If you want to critique me and you want to be respectful about it, I'm always happy to engage in debate. But don't come on here and make a-hole comments. That's just... if you make jerk comments, like, you're just going to be out. And Snail, appreciate you knocking that comment off. But also, like, it was such a stupid criticism. Like, why would you come on and say, well, if you don't like it, just don't watch it? First of all, the guy's like, another 2-hour video of you rambling for something that could be done in 1 minute. First off, there's way more in my live streams than 1 minute worth. That's just factually inaccurate. But again, if you don't like it, just don't watch it. It's just that simple. Plenty of other people will. All right, but enough about that. Let's get to the market because, yeah, not looking so great again. I swear to God, we were just up. Snail says, sunny here in Bikini Bottom. No problem. It's easier to be a nice person. And like I said, I don't mind like constructive criticism, even if it's like a little forceful. But if you're just that comment is just a comment to make it's just to make a jerk comment. That offers nothing of value to the community. Everyday Algonaut in the chat says, good morning, Everyday Algonaut. Probably afternoon where you're at now these days, huh? Okay, I think you're in, are you in Poland, if I remember right? Let's just pull up Bitcoin for a second here. And I don't know if I've talked about this. My strategy around, I'm no longer doing profit taking in Bitcoin. I've just decided, yeah, see, we were up around the 6,000 range and then back down to 104. Oh, Prague. Everyday Algonauts in Prague and says, oh, who's Crypto says, watch a Frugal BC gaga. I don't know what that means, but thanks. And then Snail says, I do wish the best for XRP holders, but I see it from a judge's standpoint, which is not often popular. So, yeah, I mean, just this morning, I was all excited because I'm like, oh, cool, Bitcoin's back on 106. You know, the market was kind of going in the right direction and back down. It's just been kind of flat, you know, for a lot of this. For kind of, you know, the last few days, it's been pretty flat after we were up to almost 110 again. Now, I found some buying opportunities actually right around here. I bought in a little more. And I'm just with Bitcoin. I'm just buy and hold now. It says good afternoon. Oh yeah, good afternoon, of course. Duh. Good afternoon. Yeah, I'm used to GM. Good morning, but good afternoon. Yeah, depending on where you are in the world, it is probably afternoon, not morning. Morning where I am. Mid morning. You know, it's not like early morning. It's definitely mid morning where I am. I usually get some other stuff going in the morning and then try to do this. So. And yeah, I don't know if there's anything really bucking the trend. Everything's just sort of flat today. You know, Hedera up a little, but even Hedera was over 15 cents back down below it. Uniswap up a little bit. Pi's doing well. I heard Pi identified as a scam. Has anyone heard anything about that? I actually have a little Pi and that I mined back when they were opening it, and it's still kind of just been flat. It's not been super exciting or anything. I still don't know what it's really for at this point, but I do have a bunch. I think I'm supposed to migrate it over or something. Yeah, Ave's doing actually okay. Yeah, why don't we just let me just put this here while yeah, 14. Kai is doing really well, as well as Say, Story, Gate Token. A lot of kind of randos in this top 24 hour by percent. Gate Token, Stacks has been around a while. Like I said, Pi, XDC network. Oh, man. Don't tell me 68. Okay. Yeah, I don't want XTC to do better than Algorand because of our favorite troll who will never ban because it's very entertaining, Bobby Jonas. Yeah, I wish he'd come in the chat. He's always a hoot. But yeah, XTC doing well. Aave, Mantle, Pendle, Nexo, and yeah, Hedera. So, and then we're getting into the 1% where this almost doesn't matter at all. Anybody having a good week? Aerodrome, Kai, and Say. Followed by Bitcoin Cash, Jito, and AB. Interesting. We it looks like a Spock symbol in the chat from Philip Riley. I like that. Very cool. And yeah, the comments about Algorand lately, the sentiment is some of the worst I've ever seen. We're gonna dive into that. We might do that first and then get to the XRP stuff. And you know what? I forgot to Gabriel says Stacy Warden must go. He's not a fan. Who says it's sunny in London right now? Well, that's rare, isn't it? It's usually kind of gloomy over there, ain't it? Yeah, so not a surprise that on the fear and greed scale that we're in neutral, and we were very strongly in greed. Like, what was that, a week ago, 2 weeks ago? Market cap overall is actually up a slight percentage, but the coin market cap, not so much, down just a teeny tiny amount. So just a whole lot of not too much interesting going on. So why don't we go over to very rare, says who's. Yeah, that's what I thought. And yeah, that's not looking good. One of the exceptions here is Algo Tardio, up 60% in the last 24 hours. Doesn't look like much on the weekly chart, of course, but if we go to the 4-hour chart, you know, it comes after this giant candle down, then it's popping back up a little bit. So to keep it in perspective, you can see how far. In fact, why don't we go to the daily chart? Kind of gives you a sense of, puts it in perspective, like having a nice day, but that's about it. Mr. Nobody Advanced Engineering says, couldn't find you on Kick, maybe just me. Oh yeah, it's kick.com/frugal or / I guess frugalbc. So it's actually pretty easy to find. I linked it on X if you want to watch there. In fact, I can put let me see here. Oops, I'm sorry. Just give me a second. Yeah, there's the link if people want to go watch it there instead. Philip says Stacy is fine. That's another interesting debate that we can probably dig into a little later. Should Stacy stay on or not? Well, she's going in 2026, which is like another year, 6 months maybe. Yeah, feel free to watch there and leave us a comment too if you like. We appreciate that. And anyway, so that's Algo Tardio and having a nice 24 hours, but really it's kind of making up for like a giant down candle. So not as exciting as it might seem. And Tiny actually under 1.7 cents now. This has been probably one of my bigger disappointments since I did switch from Ready Pool to Tiny. And it's still the better option. You know, I tried out Ready Pool. It's nice. Actually, Monko's up a little bit too. You know, it always defaults to the week. Remember my comment, by the way, about the ASA boot pattern? There it is. There it is. Perfectly illustrated. That is the boot pattern. And then everyone's favorite one. I thought we'd pull this up just because everybody loves one. Let's go to a lot of excitement. And then now we're just crashing down, just like how it typically works with a lot of these ASAs. I will say someone has an ASA bot, and I'm going to be testing that out. That might be some good channel content. Speaking of which, by the way, if you want to see how things went with my Ready Pool experiment, I do have that. I do have that video up, and that went out to everybody, not just channel members. I have a lot of channel members. So I have a $1 tier where you just get videos, all the main videos, but you get them like a couple hours before everyone else. And then you get, and then people on the $4 tier get like exclusive videos that no one else gets. I try to do at least 2 a month. I've been trying to do more. Hard to find time. I do have a business outside of this that takes up a lot of my time as well. So I try to get them out as much as I can. I try to give you like early access to stuff. So people got to see my Ready Pool experiment, how it was going before anyone else. And then, you know, we kind of get the main channel subscribers just kind of get the wrap up, so to speak. Well, anyway, that's one. Let's just go through the rest of these charts because it's, like I said, it's not looking good. Compex token up on the week at least. That's pretty good. We can pull up this one. I'll say the Compex team seems really cool. And this is a pretty nice looking chart, you know, not the atypical boot pattern that we typically see. Philip Riley says she secured the crypto summit, talking about Stacy. I prefer the professionals more than the hypers. Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. I think Stacy gets more blame than she possibly deserves. Someone recently, actually the founder of Lofty, and I think we covered this earlier in the week, said that, I think we covered this, didn't we? I'm sure we did. In fact, why don't we find that really quick? By the way, I love that animation. Wait, no, not Jerry. Jerry Chu. Not following me, by the way. I think that's a little rude. Maybe I should save this actually. Did I bookmark this? I think I did talk about this though. I did. No, I did. Let me find it. Yeah, here it is. I thought this was interesting. I did cover this. Yeah, I did cover this earlier in the week. A lot of criticism about Stacy specifically, but she had to come on a burning ship and try to put out the fire out, then sail the ship to the promised land. Now, Jerry Chu, as you know, is the co-founder of Lofty AI. You can see this on the, I mean, you can see it, right? Co-founder of Lofty AI and Alpha Arcade. And, you know, I have my criticisms of Lofty AI, but I will say they've built a successful business that's actually turned a profit, which is nice. That should be the goal of every business that's operating on Algorand. That would be good for everybody. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that T-Algo news. I bookmarked that for sure. Didn't I? I bookmarked that. I hope I did. Anyway. Anyway, yeah, so he says, she had to come on a burning ship and try to put the fire out, then sail the ship to the promised land. This is hardly an easy task. I would argue she's done mostly well on putting out the fire. If what was said to me in the past were true, then I can say many of you are worshiping the wrong person and also blaming the wrong person. This is all because one person is choosing to act with integrity and not revealing a lot of stuff, because while revealing it would vindicate the person, but she means her, right? This is why it's confusing, but vindicate the person. They know it's not helpful to the ecosystem, and it certainly won't help the token price. I will leave it at that. And no, I won't elaborate further. Well, we know she is talking about, well, we know he's talking about Stacy, but there's only two people. So the key word is many of you are worshiping the wrong person and also blaming the wrong person. So obviously blaming the wrong person, since he brought up Stacy, that's Stacy, of course. But who's worshipped in Algorand? You know, and worship is a strong word, but you know, what he means is like who's everyone like really happy about? There's only two people that can be. And I would say that is Silvio Macaulay and John Allen Woods. And I think that is probably not John Allen Woods, because he's leaving anyway. So I doubt he would be the person. So by process of elimination, I think we're talking about Silvio. I just don't know who else he could be talking about. The only other thing I could say is maybe Jerry is just completely misreading the situation and there's somebody else in Algorand that he thinks the community worships, but I can't think of anyone else who has enough influence in Algorand that they could be in the wrong person. While also, I mean, what do you guys think? Because I just can't see that him referring to anybody else except Silvio. Who else could it be? I just don't know who else it could possibly be. So anyway, that's all a very long tangent, but we were talking about CompX token, which seems to be doing pretty well at the moment. And I don't know if anyone else is, yeah, well, Alpha Arcade has actually been pretty solid on the week. Let's look at that. Philip says, just her persistence to carry on through the hatred is admiring. Yeah, she takes a lot of heat, bro. A lot of heat. Spoon says, I'm not sure if this is somehow in corporate terminology pointing towards Silvio, but it seems like it to me like it. I mean, I think it does too. Everyday Algonaut also agrees. I believe he's talking about Silvio. It has to be. I think there's been a lot of concern. Let's put this on the daily. I think there's been a lot of concern that he just hasn't been involved since he started it. I don't know that I necessarily think he needs to be involved, but I also don't. I mean, I think he's brilliant, by the way, but also like that. I don't think that his goal is to like run a blockchain. Does that make sense? Maybe I'm wrong about this. Now Snail says tough to read this one. Hard to believe it's Silvio. I mean, I just don't know who else it could be, and a lot of people do criticize the fact that he's not very involved. And I can see an argument that Silvio should be at least talking about Algorand publicly a lot. And I find it kind of alarming that he hasn't. And this is one thing a lot of people disagree with me on. But to me, the fiat chain, the fact that he's all in on the fiat chain and that he's saying, yeah, like institutions just don't want to be involved with crypto. To me, that's, I don't want to say it's a bad sign. I think it's a sign that the future is going to look differently than we assumed, and that maybe it's going to have more to do with this abstraction layer, and maybe that will be good for Algorand. He claims it will be good for Algorand, other chains as well, but also particularly Algorand. I hope he's right if that's the case. I also wonder what that looks like if people are using an abstraction layer and then just sometimes kind of interacting with Algorand and other chains. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. And then is Fiat Chain, is that a competitor to Chainlink, which is also like the main interoperability layer? Because I always see Chainlink as sort of described as a hub for other chains as well. You know, a lot of that might be above my pay grade. I'm definitely not an engineer, so. Corporate language, CAC. Yeah, Spoon said it like seems like it's pointing towards Silvio. I think it is too. Now Snail says he left. Why would Silvio be in the picture at all? Well, I mean, he started it, right? I think that's kind of the point. He left, and then now he's like not involved. So I think that's a problem. I don't understand Silvio's actions. If he launched a new chain, he'll have no credibility. He will dump strong his algo tokens so that he will have plenty of fiat tokens. Does the fiat chain even really have a token per se? I'm not sure. Maybe I misunderstood that. Snail says he's not worshipped. I don't know. Not by enough to matter, in my opinion. I just don't know. I mean, that's the thing, though. He might, you know, Jerry just might be overstating it, too. So, but I don't know, who else could it be? Like, I don't see how it could be John. And if it was John, then, well, John's leaving, so then everything would be fine then, I guess. Like, I just don't know where we're going with this. You know what I mean? It's a very interesting comment. I think it raised more questions than it answered. Spoon says, yep, I was thinking this might happen, but let's hope that Silvio's not that short-sighted. He was talking every day. Algonaut. Shib destroyed crypto drama for me. Well, tell me more about that, Philip. I want to know what that means. Yeah, I think Algorand could use some serious good news at this point. There is some good news. We have that queued up, so we'll get to that. Anyway, that was Alpha Arcade. I like Alpha Arcade because you can just hold the token, which has stayed shockingly steady. And then you can earn USDC. And I've been getting a little bit of USDC every couple of days for holding, which is kind of cool. It's not a ton. Yeah, that's about it. Aura's up a little bit on the week. Otherwise, nothing too exciting, to be honest. I was really hoping to at least have kind of an upswing to talk about, but it seems to be kind of going away. So, well, let's go back to our bookmarks here. Let's start with Algorand, because it's been a rough week. Well, first off, I just love this little animation that K, who is at K Blockchain on X, if you want to follow him, is a good follow, I think. I don't know. I grew up playing with Legos, so this just seems kind of cool to me. And I love that they get the bokeh and everything, and get a little blurred background. Yeah, Mr. Nobody says he bought a bunch of alpha off the low. That's very cool. Everyday Algonaut says, a few years ago when Silvio backed from Algorand, it was said he does not want to be a public figure. Does he want to be a public figure for the new blockchain now? My guess is not really. I'm thinking he wants to put that out in the world. Be I would assume he probably wants to be financially involved. I didn't realize this. I looked it up the other day. And it turns out that Silvio apparently has started companies, because I thought, well, he's not really a business guy, right? He's like a MIT professor. Well, he's actually started quite a few companies, like 2 or 3 in his time. So I had to take that back for sure. Do you still love Algorand? This is what I asked, and it got a lot of views and engagement. So people really wanted to weigh into this. Like that alpha paying you for holding it like a stock dividend? Absolutely. Philip says, once I found Algo, there has been literally no other reason to look for another crypto. Well, I'll tell you what, I hold a lot of crypto, not just Algorand. Algorand is probably my biggest holding at this point, but mostly because I have it put to work, and I don't have most of my other coins that I'm holding. I'm just buying and holding and not doing anything with. So anyway, I said, do you still love Algorand? Well, look who answered. Crypto Wendio answered and said, yes, I have some, which I thought was cool. I said, still my favorite in terms of usability. I Am Digital says, I think there's a lot of room for improvement, but my overall conviction stands. I Am Digital is the one making the trading bot that I'm going to be testing out. I'm pretty excited about that, which I said there. Marcus, friend of the channel, sponsor of the channel, says, Marcus does. Heck yeah. And Maiden says, we have a toxic love-hate relationship. Well, I know how that feels sometimes. Good tech, great for the arcade experience, says Yomo, who is the founder of the Astro Explorer arcade game, which is a lot of fun. One of the better projects on Algorand, I think. Crypto for Change says, love is a strong word. Fair enough. This, by the way, got 61 replies. Wiz says, was a big Algorand supporter early on at 2021, but shifted to Solana. I asked him if he did any DeFi on Solana. He sticks to trading memes on Solana. I think that's what a lot of people are doing. Philip says, Algo definitely works coming from Ethereum. Fair enough. Well, I think a lot of people found Algorand from Ethereum. Hey, here's Julia saying, yes, I do. Les Collins for those that are truly upset. Beehoo, but yeah. But love Algorand and its technology. The hook from D12's rap game is what they have going through their head. I'm all for Algorand. Don't even know. I guess I don't know D12's wrap, so I don't know what that means. Algo will be fine. One of the few ISOs. The ISO thing. Guys, stop with the ISO. You can go. I got videos on that. I'm not going to rehash that, but basically the ISO 20022 thing is like the biggest misnomer in all of crypto, and people still believe it. They still think it's like a real thing. It just has it's a bank messaging standard. It has nothing to do with crypto. A crypto DApp could employ the syntax standard if they were a bank messaging standard, but it has nothing to do with the underlying cryptocurrency. So anyway, yeah, a lot of people saying I'm all in on algo, checks all the boxes. Bitcoin for corporations, Sol for memes, and algos for RWAs. We can coexist. The technology is unparalleled. Nope, no, getting some no's. I do, but number going down only and confusing messaging doesn't help. Of course, Algorand is the back, I think you meant back end for Ultra Trade, native exchange tech. It's like sub-dom pay-pig relationship. I forgot to tell Algorand Foundation my safe word, though. That's pretty funny. F no, tolerate is more like it. Love no, but always be grateful to Algorand builders. I like that Algorand is quantum resistant, says Mr. Nobody. Yes, agreed. Yeah, and let's see. We'll all laugh in a few years. We'll see. Amazing on-chain experience, but 90% focused on base DeFi now with some interest in Solana. But only because of Helium. Yeah, so I am a Helium. Well, I have Helium only because I have the Helium mobile phone. And it's like $20 a month, which is like incredibly affordable just on its own. And then you earn Helium as you walk around the day and map locations, which takes like no effort whatsoever. I walk way more than I need to get that. And then you can just put that towards your bill. Now, this month I had to pay for my bill, but I will absolutely have enough, and mostly because the price of Helium went down. But next month I'll definitely have enough to pay my bill. So a lot of really mixed feelings here. And I know some big OGs have said they're selling out and getting out. I'd wait till after, even if you were going to do that, I would wait till next year and make sure it's really out. And Philip says, if algo hits 11, 12 cents, I'm lighting the ritual candles. Spoon says that would be crazy. Imagine if it was the RWA leader after 2023 or 2030, excuse me. Not many blockchains out there that are quantum resistant, says Mr. Nobody. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not that bullish on the RWA narrative. I think AI payments and stablecoins are going to be the two biggest uses for crypto in the next few years. Because I just don't think companies don't want to. What we saw with TravelX, companies just don't want their stuff on chain. They just don't. Not on a public chain. That's where the fiat chain comes in, I think. Snail says algo is going to be beautiful for our retirements. Spoon says, I remember when you could run your own DIY Helium node. I thought about like getting one of those hotspots way back in the day. That was one of the experiments I was going to do, but they were kind of expensive. And so I was waiting to see how they went, and then they went like down and down and down. So very interesting. What stupid question is this? Well, I don't think it was that stupid of a question because a whole lot of people answered it. A lot of no's, a lot of yeses. Very interesting. Stacking it still. DGAF. Algo's not for losers. S-Coin. When others rise, you stay flat. When others fall, you plummet. Like an abusive girlfriend that just can't quit. Here's the thing. Yes, kids crying. It's kind of how I think that's how a lot of us feel right here. So I don't know. It's like I said, there are some very long time. In fact, I'm gonna pull one up here. This is yeah, this is one of the OGs who is saying he's out. 20 million straws, meet camel's back. This is my crash out. Good game, gents. Gov.voice said, I'd like to better understand what you wanted to see happen and what all went down. Anytime I see someone passionate about something bail, I feel like there's things to learn from it. Please feel free to hit me up for a chat sometime if you're interested to talk. He just says, no. Kind of rude. Sorry to see this, but totally understand. Pour one out for Gov. STFU. I'll see you tomorrow, champ. He hasn't posted since, so I don't know. He might really be out. Everyday Algonaut says, my conspiracy theory is that TravelX has noticed this group in Algorand Foundation, which wants to increase network fees so that they keep their salaries, so they just spin out their own algo private network. You know, one thing that someone got into me in the comments is they said, well, they're not doing a private blockchain, they're just doing a private transaction network. How is that? And I was, at first I was like, yeah, technically they didn't say blockchain, but then I thought about it some more. I'm like, what else could it be besides its own blockchain? It has to be, like, I don't see how they can have an infrastructure that operates similarly without it being an actual blockchain of some kind. I'm guessing it's like a private blockchain. It has to be. We're on the threshold of hell, says. Gotta love the Clark Griswold quote. See you, Space Cowboy. There was another big one too. I don't know if I followed him. I don't know if I can remember his name. Oh, actually, maybe I can. I'll get to the chats in a... Is that it? Oh, yeah. This is Rito. We don't follow each other, but... was holding algo for over 4 years and now being told to have no conviction by people who can't hold a sub $1 million meme coin for 4 days. Lameo. Oh, I guess, hold on. That's not the announcement. Yeah, right here. Pretty big community member also said, just sold my algo with instant finality, keeping my ASAs because they've been the best thing about Algorand. Well, I've done better on Algorand than I have my ASAs. Because hey, even at 17 cents, I mean, I'm definitely up, probably not 2x, but I think my average is somewhere. I have no idea because I've just been in it so long. But I bought most of my stuff at, you know, around the 10, 12 cents range. I'll be back when there's a change at the AF or when ATARD is at 1 million market cap, whichever comes first. Another one got an ATARD card. They like giving those out. Right, Tardio. Is that his actual, like, handle? Yeah, it is. So, I mean, those are the two I saw, but those are two, they were pretty prominent community members, and so that's a bit concerning. The Snail says, I remember giving up on Doge, then SNL happened. I'll never make the same mistake. Yeah, I think it's better to, instead of just selling and rotating, in my opinion, just leave it out there and go buy something else. Like if you don't like your current coin, because who knows what it's going to do. Time is kind of the principal element. So that's my thoughts on that. Spoon says, I was running my own node on Raspberry with RK module, but then they shut down the DIY nodes. So that sucks. Yeah, I know what you mean. SNL, yeah. And so they migrated to SQL. I missed 2017. Copy Bebop reference bug. Oh, what was the the Space Cowboy thing? Yeah, I don't think Stacy was on Cowboy Bebop, but it'd be cool if she was. It was a great anime. It was like, that was one of the first anime I got into back in the day. I had a group of friends and we would all watch we'd all watch Dragon Ball Z. Well, we would watch Cartoon Network, and then Dragon Ball Z would come on, and we'd be like, "What the heck is this? This is so weird." And we start watching it to make fun of how weird it was, and then eventually we would just realize, wait, actually, we're just really into this. And that was before anime wasn't like a big thing back then. It was just starting to kind of get more attention than just like really random, a really niche. It was a really niche interest back then. Philip says, I'm betting with geopolitics. I'm betting dip with geopolitics, but they say that's when the millions are made. Yeah, it's funny. It's going to sound weird, but I was invited to a wine tasting yesterday, which is not in my wheelhouse whatsoever. And I was seated next to a guy who turned out to be a retired stockbroker. And he said one of the things he saw where people reliably built wealth is when they just dollar cost averaged and they just kept buying through all the dips, and they ended up doing really, really well. And I can say that myself. When the COVID dip happened, I just kept buying, and people like get scared during those dips, especially with stocks like crypto. We're kind of used to it. I think we're all pretty what's the word? We're all pretty immune to it at this point. But with crypto, with stocks, like a lot of people freak out and they'll like sell off and stuff. I'm like, that's where you're losing money, to be honest. Anyway, nobody gets better prices than Wall Street. Just remember that. Abraham says, does it surprise you that Algorand is a massive letdown? LOL. Well, I mean, everything. This is the thing, though. Everything's been a letdown lately. Like, what are we excited about in the market? We just covered the whole market. Everything's falling apart. There's definitely stuff I think that's worthy of criticism, and I've never shied away from making that criticism. But I've said this for years on this channel. And I know some of you OGs who've been watching for a really long time, I know you remember me saying this. Like, Algorand is probably not the coin that you hold for price action, but it's the coin that is pretty reliable and that you can do DeFi on. Because I have yet to hear of a better DeFi experience, although I hear really good stuff about Base, I guess it's Base. I still gotta have Crypto for Change and C will come on and do a Base 101. I very seriously thought about getting into it. Ooh, salty, says Spoon. I don't think it's without criticism. Anyway, let's look through. We got more Algorand stuff, so let me go through and find that. And then we'll come back to, like I said, we got other stuff. Has anyone in chat tried this? This is from imdigital.algo. I with a, like an eye, like an eyeball. Digital, pretty interesting idea. Because he says it's been months of work on this, or it's been, many months of work on this and a year and a half of learning how to prompt well enough to get it to this point, but I did it. It works. It runs on your Windows machine. It trades selected ASAs against US dollar coin. It does not look up funds and contracts. It just uses what is available in each configured wallet. You can move funds freely while it is running. I'm sharing it with anyone who's interested in checking it out. It runs on Windows machines. I kind of want to play with this. So I'm going to be doing an experiment on this. I think this is really neat. I'm going to try this out. I do have a Windows machine now. I used to run on Mac exclusively, but it just got worse and worse. The experience just got worse and worse. By the way, I just want to point this out. I am beating Martin Shkreli right now for live stream views. But I'm not beating Kitsu, who's a YouTube streamer, so oops. Anyway, let's see. Regarding DeFi, Frugal, do you want to become our internal tester for the first concentrated liquidity AMM on Algorand? Maybe. I'll think about that. Send me a DM with the details. Dude, Algorand still has some cool projects. A lot of altcoins are down since December. What are you saying? The Abraham AI dude, Algorand still has some cool projects. Okay, same thing. Yeah, I mean, like I said, and I've said this all along, Algorand is just not the price mover. You know, even it really underperformed a lot of other coins that I've been following. But you get to do stuff. There's a lot of cool, you know, it's just so easy to use. I know I had some other Algorand stuff. Oh, this is cool. So I thought this was really neat. Algorand soft staking is now available on Binance. Over 275 million Binance users can now soft stake Algo with full flexibility, the ability to withdraw or trade anytime, and daily rewards. Now, some people criticized, I guess mine didn't come up here. You know, there were some people that said, well, I think it was on Mark's post, but they're like, yeah, it's going to be a lower percentage and you have to hold it on a DEX. So how is this a win? Well, it is a win because this isn't marketed towards people like you and me. People like you and me, like the OGs, you know, the people who are in depth on this stuff, we are, you know, we're going to do, we can run a node or use Ready or use Tinyman. But the average Joe Schmo who's just holding their coins on an exchange, they're not gonna do that. They're just not going to do that. So you want this available to, again, over 275 million Binance users. Okay, that's a good thing. That means all these people can buy and they can stake. And I will tell you what, you know how I got into Algorand in the first place? Through Coinbase staking. I switched from Tezos to Algorand because Algorand had a higher stake. And then when the staking went away, I learned that if you hold your own wallet, you can keep staking. And you actually get even a higher percentage than I was getting on Coinbase. So that was my window into the Algorand world. Snail says 100% correct. Yeah, totally. So this is how this is where this comes from. This is why this is important. This is a gateway, okay? I mean, I just can't understand the myopic view that would be like, well, this isn't something I personally want to use, so it's stupid. That's crazy. You have to think about the bigger picture, not just yourself, right? So I was very surprised at that comment that I saw. I responded. I don't know if they responded back. I made my point. Good enough. Anyway, I think that's a big deal. And also, something with Chainlink. This is, by the way, we were talking earlier what kicked this off. This is what kicked this off. She said, "Hi, AlgoFam. It has come to my attention that Algorand Technologies does not feel that my tweet of May 26, 2025, where I stated that Algorand Technologies has driven the roadmap as they control the protocol, is an accurate representation. Well, Algorand Technologies is responsible for the support, maintenance, and ongoing development of source code for the protocol. AT has never published a roadmap for the community and has never committed to publishing a roadmap for the community. The words roadmap and control are subject to interpretation. However, while AT is the only one that writes access to canonical code repository, no protocol upgrade can occur without the approval of 90% of the online stake. Hope that makes it clear. Well, oof, guys, I'm just clarifying a tweet. Clarity is good. This is not some kind of thing that is happening. Algorand Technologies has never published a roadmap, so I don't want to insinuate that they did. I'm surprised by some of these comments. It's all good, I promise. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was a pretty reasonable tweet. It does point to some bigger issues of... I still don't understand why we need both of these entities. I think we can just have one entity that does everything. It seems like it would be more efficient. There'd be less, instead of having politics between two entities and who does what and who's responsible for what. I just feel like we don't need this. I don't think we need two of them. Yeah, Algo Scott says this is turning into such a mess. I kind of agree with that. So they are coming out with a roadmap, and this will be the last Algorand thing that we do. Abraham AI says, why would Algorand ever do anything that leads to value creation for investors? That would go against their mission. What's their mission then? What's the argument there? Anyway, they have this pinned now. When roadmap, the new Algorand roadmap will be released in July. So I guess in July we will see this. Oh, by the way, this is kind of cool too. We can talk about this really quick and then cap things off. We're proud to share that Algorand's CLO, Jenny Levin, has joined the Advisory Council of the Digital Economy Initiative. This independent body helps shape digital policy and innovation across tech, law, and finance, alongside leaders from multiple sectors. So that's good to have a seat at the table, I guess, right? Funny that Arlington Capital comes up. I guess you guys know all the issues that came up with Arlington Capital back in the day. I saw some people criticizing the foundation on that. I thought the foundation was saying, hey, we want to be transparent, release us from the NDA so we can tell people what happened. And Arlington Capital was very silent about that. So I don't know why people were taking Arlington's side on that, but whatever. Everyday Algonaut says the mess will be when Algorand Technologies will launch EVM compatible fiat chain. Well, when that goes live, it's going to be interesting to see the impact. Silvio says it's going to be a good thing for Algorand. I'm not so sure. Snail says, bravo, it only took your AI 10 minutes to come up with another Algorand line. Do you prefer centralized or failed networks as opposed to algo? We have a nice little debate in the chat. And very happy. Oh, they're all gone now. I was going to say very happy to see some users on Kick. Now we're back to, well, we've always, so here's a little thing. You kind of have to seed your Kick, I learned. Abraham AI says, prefer something that's actually going up in value after 5 years. Well, listen, that, like I said, there's coins that have done a lot better. That's just a fact. You're not wrong about that. I think he's a numbers go up guy. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the argument I had. I had an argument with Sean Ford, the former CEO of Algorand Inc. And the argument kind of basically came down to, should, what is the value that a blockchain provides? And, do we care? What it comes down to is, what do you value the most? And I think if you're here for number go up, that's fine. I think you have to recognize, though, that there are people who believe long-term in the technology and aren't just here to make gains. Like I said, I don't just own Algorand. I own a lot of coins because I do care about that. I do care about number goes up. I think that's important. But Algorand is the chain that I actually use, and so I do care about stuff beyond that. So that's my little speech about Algorand with this nice little the Algorand Lego guys in the background. This does make me happy. I would love to get like a little Lego animation, but it's like for Frugal BC maybe. Yeah, Abraham says, God forbid I want value creation. It depends what you mean by value. It depends on what your time frame is, your time horizon. Are you looking for big pumps? Everyday Algonaut says, I am waiting for the point when the fully distribution of algo token will reduce the sell pressure on algo price. That is one thing I think has some merit, is they said they weren't going to do structured selling, and now they've been doing that again. So I don't know what that's all about. Well, I guess they said they stopped, but it doesn't mean they wouldn't start again, I guess. But a job is to make money. Blockchain is technology. Algo hasn't seen price discovery yet. When it does, it should be interesting. Everyone's uncle has lost money on Algorand. I actually haven't lost money on Algorand, but I bought, in the low, usually in the lowest spot. So everyone's been saying that since the ICO, talking about price discovery. It did have a giant botch launch. That's one thing that DZ and I talked about when he came on my channel. It's possible to compare Algorand from the price 5 years ago to today, as today is much more distributed. Well, you can still compare the price. What do you mean? Of course you can. And it was a giant botched launch. I mean, it launched in like, it's never hit that, it's never hit its launch price yet. Let's, anyway, I'll let you guys can finish chatting about Algorand if you want. I'm going to move on to XRP. Actually, no, first I just want to like talk really quick about this tweet from Lycan Warlord. Now, you guys remember, some of you remember, he's been on the channel a couple times, and I used to be a big Gala Games guy. That was one of the projects that I covered on the channel. I was a big Townstar player. I still think it's fun. I haven't played in a while. I'm not, but I would play once in a while. I do think it's a really fun game. I think Gala is a disaster. And, well, Lycan follows this more closely than I do. He's knee deep in this stuff for sure. And he has open letter for the delisting of Go Gala Games Gala token from Binance. He says the CEO of Gala Games has overstepped his responsibilities once again. Benefactor has forced our hands as community members. Please seize the attached document. Gala has just been an utter disaster. It's everything that's wrong with Web3 in a nutshell. I don't even know how to... You know, it's just like, let's come out with these half-finished games, say they're in beta, charge thousands of dollars for NFTs. Oh, and then by the way, we'll just change how the NFTs work. So this is when this kind of opened my eyes to NFTs, because I thought NFTs were a great... I thought video games were like the perfect use case for NFTs. So you buy this NFT... thinking, and it's like, oh yeah, you can, you know, they can't touch the NFT. It's like, yeah, but they can change the game. So they just nerf it anyway. They can just nerf it anyway. So I had these, I spent, you know, a couple $100 on this NFT, and that was like the lowest cost one, was like probably closer to $300, thinking I was going to earn Town Coin. And then like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months later, they're like, oh, we got to turn it off. So then you don't earn anymore. So I was nowhere near earning what I had paid back. You think Algorand is bad? Like Abraham saying stuff is, Abraham says Algorand is a disaster chain. Well, take a look at Gala, man. Gala is like far worse. Dude, it makes Algorand look like peaches and roses, let me tell you. Anyway, why Binance should take action. As one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world, Binance bears both the opportunity and responsibility of protecting its users. Gala still sees considerable trading volume, but I believe that the continued support for this token exposes users to undue risk due to legal uncertainty stemming from executive disputes involving hundreds of millions in disputed assets, undermine decentralization and governance contrary to token claims, unfulfilled utility by canceled and abandoned projects. There's a lot of those. Ongoing liquidation by insider wallets totaling over 1.6 billion. That sounds bad. That sounds real bad. Good for Lycan. So is he the one that sent it? I don't know. These concerns align with several of Binance's own stated delisting criteria, including evidence of unethical or fraudulent conduct by project team members, contribution to a healthy and sustainable crypto ecosystem, level of development activity and responsiveness to user concerns, that second part being kind of operative there, stability and safety of the token's network and governance model. Gala token no longer meets the standards of Binance in my view. Large exchanges like Coinbase have already decided to delist Gala from their exchange after Gala's controversial token contract upgrade. It's time for Binance to consider the same. So very, very interesting. I wonder if Binance is going to respond to this. My guess is probably not. You're talking about mass liquidation. That's a lot. 1.3 billion. You think Algorand's foundation sell-off is bad? That's peanuts compared to this. That's a lot of liquidation. By the way, every time they've changed, I'm pretty sure my Gala is all like worthless now, because there's all these times where you're supposed to change things. Here, rewards for Gala products such as Townstar, Film, and Osme, I don't know what the second two are, have been put on pause indefinitely. Yeah, they never really came back. They have kind of a half-assed reward system now for Town Star, but it's really not worth it. And then ongoing co-founders litigation. We know about that. Customer disenfranchisement. Here's benefactor, the CEO saying, "You guys are so full of shit, losers, whiners, losers. Get a life." A lot of what being said is in gold is just, I want to be a parasite and not work for it. They sold this thing. Well, you guys are really going at it, huh? That's okay. You guys want to, and by the way, this is what I'm talking about. If you guys want to have like logical arguments, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't think he's being disrespectful. I think that's fine. I like people having the back and forth. I don't like you using the word nut hugger though. Let's keep it on the level, huh? You don't have to insult people, just make your point. So that's gonna be a warning. Yeah, don't call people names in the chat. We're not gonna tolerate that. Okay, let's get to XRP, because XRP has got, there's an update as of June 17th, so we definitely want to cover this, because I think this is pretty interesting. The SEC has officially opened proceedings to determine whether to approve or disapprove the proposed listing of the Franklin XRP ETF on SIBO BZX. I don't know what that is. Good grief. Here's what it means. And by the way, Generation Infinity, Genfinity, this is a great crypto channel. And we were talking about working together. I'm not sure whatever happened with that. I'm gonna have to reach back out and see if we can see what we can do here. Mr. Nobody says, "Glad I watched the live stream. I found some value here." I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. So what's being proposed? Well, Franklin XRP ETF would hold physical XRP. The custody would be by Coinbase Custody Trust. Price tracking would be CF Benchmark CME XRP Dollar Index. Creation, redemption in 50,000 share blocks, and listed under BZX Rule 14.11E4 for commodity-based trust shares. This is good for any cryptocurrency, by the way. If you can hold, because there's a lot of people, I meet people all the time who they're just not going to buy crypto. Even they're not even going to trust Coinbase. Okay, like you and I, we're like, well, we might not trust Coinbase for the other side of it. Like we might think it's not decentralized enough. Other people, it's like too new and crazy. They don't want to do that. AF live now. Is the Algorand Foundation live now? Should I like refresh? Not that I see. I'm live. Anyway. So anyway, Xavier Martin says, "Do you think ECB's CBDC decision this fall might involve Algorand?" Yeah, we can maybe look at that. We're on XRP right now, so we'll save that for, I want to get through this XRP segment. Key dates: March 13th, CBO BZX files proposal with the SEC. March 19th, the proposal published in the Federal Register. On April 29th, the SEC extends the review deadline. June 17th, SEC issues order instituting procedures. Next key deadline likely is around September 9th, which would be the 180-day mark. Now, what is happening now with XRP? And you'll notice like there's an XRP one. We're going to talk about the Hedera one more recent, also in the Hedera segment. But you notice they're kind of sticking to like top 20. This is why it's bad that Algorand is down in the 50s when it used to be in the top 20. There's a strong possibility if it had stayed there, Xavier Martin says, fair. Thank you, Frugal. Yeah, I appreciate that. Just remind me if I forget too, because I do want to, well, we will look into that a little bit. I think this is important because if Algorand had been in the top 20 right now, instead of the 55, you know, someone there might be an Algorand XRP, I'm sorry, an Algorand ETF in the works, and we're not getting that, which sucks. But good for XRP and good for HBAR. Like I have those too, so I'm happy for both of those. Now the SEC hasn't made a final decision. It's launching a formal investigation to assess whether the listing protects investors, prevents manipulation, it meets the standard under the Section 6B5 of the Exchange Act. Public comments welcome. SEC is requesting public feedback, especially on whether XRP's market structure can support fair pricing and resist manipulation. And I think what's going to happen, I think some folks who are like on other chains might try to go on and trash it. I don't think people should do that. I think your best bet is to support all the ETFs, because that means your coin is more likely to happen. That's my, you know, unless they're like the really bad coins, you know, if someone wants to make a Gala ETF, I'd be like, I don't know about that. Sasha says, so the SEC seems to always have delays with anything related to XRP. I don't think that's the way it is. You know, these things take time. They don't happen overnight. They want to make sure they're doing this correctly. I think that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Anyway, let's go back. We got more XRP, and I thought this was kind of cool. Let me find this. I should probably start using, oh, here we go. Yeah, Alchemy Pay. I'm sure you guys have seen this. You know, Algorand has a connection with Alchemy Pay. Usually not the best way to buy stuff. It's a little bit expensive, but it says, we're proud to partner with Ripple to power fiat on-ramps for RLUSD. It's fully backed, compliant stablecoin. It's fully backed, compliant stablecoin. Now available through your favorite local payments methods. And Alchemy Pay makes it accessible to 173 countries. So this is really good for Ripple. And you want this, if you have this coin, you want this. Someone's asking about Cardano, or when RLUSD will be on Cardano. That's kind of a strange thing to care about. Integration allows users in 173 jurisdictions to purchase RLUSD through 300 plus payment methods, including Google Pay, Apple Pay, cards, mobile wallets. Yeah, you definitely want this. If you want this for your chain, for sure, even if you're not using it personally. I mean, this is the thing you have to think about. Always think about the big picture. Don't think about like, am I going to do this myself? Think, well, will this bring other people to the blockchain? Whichever chain it is. Partnership aims to reduce barriers for institutions and consumers seeking compliant stablecoin access, leveraging Ripple's regulatory expertise. Alchemy Pay reports strong growth with 3 million registered users and 8 million transfers, marking 3x growth in 2024. That's from a guy named Tatsuya Korogi. Oh, it's a Japanese guy, huh? This is the ecosystem growth guy at Ripple. I should follow him. I'll follow him. Tatsuya calling himself Tats. I like that. That's a good point. The rating on Trustpilot looks horrible. Alchemy Pay seems to be scammers. I don't know about scammers, but they're probably overpriced. Did I have one more Ripple thing? I thought I had one more Ripple thing. Let me see. I think this was the same one. This was just him talking about it. Oh no, this one, we had this one too, and I think I talked about this on my show earlier too, but this is North America's first XRP ETF is now live on the Toronto Stock Exchange via 3iQ. So this is so we were talking about the American one going through the SEC, but this is the first one in North America going live on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Here's the little snippet. The 3IQ XRP ETF is now live on the Toronto Stock Exchange, offering regulated, transparent access to one of crypto's most battle-tested assets. And that is probably a good sign for the American version. If they look to Canada, who I think is probably more restrictive on this stuff, and is saying, hey, great, this is cool. If they see like Toronto's okay, the Toronto Stock Exchange is okay with it, like Canada's government is okay with this, I think that's going to be a good sign. Plus, with the current environment in the SEC, I would say that means it's probably going to happen. Now, this is a zero management fee for 6 months, early fund investment by Ripple, cold storage secured, and 10,800% growth since 2015. Yeah, I mean, that's like the launch, right? I would be, do always be a little skeptical of these numbers. If you're just talking launch price, unless you have a botched launch like Algorand, yeah, a lot of them are going to look like this. That doesn't mean you're going to get these kind of gains in the next like 10 years, right? In fact, I would say almost 100% you're not going to. Anyway, 3IQ rings the closing bell today at the TSX to celebrate XRPQ's debut. This comes after the success of 3IQ's SolQ, which is the Solana staking ETF, now managing 120 million accounts under management, providing 3IQ's leadership in first-to-market regulated digital assets ETF. Yeah, so I mean, we rich yet? What is rich? It's funny. I think stuff like this is great, and it says a lot about the strength of crypto right now that everybody is looking at this stuff. So that's our XRP news, and I am a holder of XRP. Like, I think I've talked about this. I own a lot of other crypto besides Algorand. Algorand's just the one I do probably the most content on, because I think there's a lot going on the chain, which is a nice little transition. So Abraham says Algorand will miss the bull run this year. Most people that invest, our number go up, guys. LOL. Otherwise, why they invest? Well, so I've explained this before. I explained this earlier in the stream, but Algorand is not my number go up chain. It's actually my DeFi chain, because there are other ways to earn besides the underlying token price going up. There's so many ways to earn yield on platforms that actually work. But I also think that the number not going up is a fair criticism. Nelson Ortiz says, be aware the president is about to announce something big today, Friday. Interesting. Algo number 1 says Philip Riley. Aftermath said, did you cover the Aeon partnership yet with Algo? Well, I got a couple to catch up on. Let's yeah, I would like to know. Snail says you still haven't told us what chain you prefer. I would like to know like what other cryptocurrencies you're interested in. Like I have a decent amount of HBAR and XRP, and well, I am actually talking about those coins today. I just finished our XRP segment. We're going to get to HBAR in a second here. All right, finished my coffee. Let's take a look at a couple things here. First off, is Trump supposed to talk about crypto? I'm just taking a look here because someone brought something up. Trump announcement today. It looks like he's mostly just talking about I thought maybe there was something crypto related that he was going to announce, but I'm not seeing much come up just about Iran. Nelson Ortiz says between Bitcoin and XRP, XRP is my underdog long term. That's cool. Yeah, I have Bitcoin too. I should point out quite a bit of that. Okay, someone else said, let's work from the back. I wonder if this is what you're talking about. Strengths and limits of the central bank's digital euro says in October 2025, the European Central Bank could take a major step forward with the introduction of the digital euro, its central bank digital currency. So this is interesting because I think there's people are very skeptical in the US about CBDCs, and Europe, which is much more regulation prone, probably wants a central bank digital currency because they want to be able to control the dollars. They don't want it centralized. They don't want it to be decentralized. That's the opposite of what Europe would want. This project, which is intended to complement existing cash and electronic payments, has recently made significant progress. In December 2024, the ECB published its second progress report detailing the progress made in the preparatory phase of the digital euro. The report highlights key aspects such as privacy protection, holding limits, and offline payments. At the same time, a study published in March 2025 reveals that 58% of European citizens think that they are unlikely or very unlikely to use the digital euro for their everyday payments. But that's an interesting way to frame it, because that means 42% of Europeans are like, yeah, I would do that. So I don't know. It's or maybe they would be neutral, I guess. I don't know how many were neutral. Why not just present all of them so I can judge? But is there a more recent decision, Xavier, that you were talking about? Let's see. We'll get back to that. Algo, Mr. Nobody says if Algo could go back to 60 cents, even it would be nice if only, yeah, that'd be nice. And looks really good. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that next. When in history has anyone televised that you'll all be rich at the same time? When has everyone gotten rich when mainstream was telling them they would? XRP to 50,000 per coin. US GDP 876 quadrillion and eggs to $500. Yeah, I mean, if you really wanted the best meme coin was eggs. Man, those really skyrocketed. $5 billion for a loaf of bread. Yeah, we got some funny stuff going on in the comments. Montour92, welcome to the show, says I have 5,000 algos. Cool. Aftermath says it's exposure to 20 million vendors. Philip Riley says player versus player Pong on algo, make it happen. Well, let me by the way, Xavier, if you have a link that you wanted me to look at around the European Central Bank's CBDC, let me know. But let's look but here is what this is what Spoon is talking about. And yeah, I didn't cover this. I'll move this over a little bit so you can see a little bit better. Aeon partners with Algorand for crypto payments at major retailers. I'm surprised more people are talking about this. This is crazy. Aeon has partnered with the Algorand Foundation to enable crypto payments using Algo and USDC for over 20 million users. This integration allows users to spend digital tokens at a... Is this not the... Huh. So this is different than... I mean, this is different than the MasterCard Parawallet thing. This integration allows users to spend digital tokens at a wide range of retail, dining, and lifestyle outlets, including major brands like McDonald's, Starbucks, Pizza Hut, and Uniqlo. Dude, I love Uniqlo, by the way. I really do. I haven't been to one in a really long time. I used to go before they came to the US. I went to Japan a few times, and I loved using Uniqlo in Japan. The partnership combines Aeon's next-generation payment framework with Algorand's energy-efficient blockchain, aiming to push digital asset adoption to real-world commerce. Aeon Pay, accessible via Telegram mini app and top wallets like BitGet Wallet and Token Pocket, now supports these tokens across various merchant terminals. This development allows Aeon's earlier tie-up with USDD, expanding token usability. Aeon's framework now supports Algo USDC, and USDD across Southeast Asia, with plans to expand to Africa and Latin America. So it doesn't look like it's us folks in the States here are going to be able to use it. But Southeast Asia, that's pretty cool. Be used to maybe buy some anime figures, huh? Be pretty cool. The move supports digital currency usage in emerging markets with a high demand for payment innovation. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think, I don't know, is Southeast Asia? Wait, what is technically Southeast Asia? Is that like Vietnam and Cambodia and stuff? Yeah, because otherwise it's just East Asia, right? Southeast Asia is the geographical southeastern region of Asia, consisting of the regions situated south of China, east of the Indian subcontinent. But like, this is or isn't Japan? Snail says, I got to bounce. Much love. Thanks for being here, buddy. Yep. Aftermath, we did cover the Binance soft staking earlier in our Algorand segment. Like, just tell me what countries. Yeah, show me the countries here. Yeah, okay, so yeah, this is Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Timor-Leste, and Vietnam. Dude, can you imagine, like, if you loaded up your wallet with Algorand in USDC, and then you just went to Thailand, like, man, I mean, you could just spend money. Dude, Thailand, like, I went for 2 weeks with like $700 in my pocket, and I came back with like half of it. It's just so hard to spend money there because everything is so inexpensive. And then I think it was Kyle, the one that we highlighted earlier. He really loves Cambodia, and the pictures he was showing were like unbelievable. Like, wow. I could see that being really cool too. So yeah, anyway, so it's not going to like Japan, or it's not going to US or Europe, but that's still pretty cool. Even Latin America. I've always wanted to go to Colombia. I think that would be really cool. Well, anyway, I think that's a really cool project. So yeah, they're going to have Algorand USD support in Africa and Latin America following the Southeast Asian launch. So the platform aims to serve the next billion users through AI-powered crypto payment solutions. What do you think AI is doing here? Oh, Fracas, yes. It says Philippines, Thailand. Yeah, totally. Yeah, we looked it up. I just wanted to be sure which countries it all covered. It says, my wife was born in the Philippines. Having to convert to peso from my debit card was annoying. Yeah, pretty cool that you could just do it right from there. I think it'd be awesome too for, like I said, when I was in Thailand, I mean, can you imagine how much your money would, you could just have your Algorand, you could just show up with your Aeon Algorand wallet all loaded up and just pay with Algorand, and it would go so far. The expansion into Africa and Latin America will test the system's global scalability and consumer readiness. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I'm surprised like that didn't get shouted out more by like the foundation. Boy, really growing our audience here, which is pretty cool. And keeping an eye on Kick in case anyone comments there. Feel free to leave us a comment if you're watching on Kick. Trying to grow that audience a little bit, and I think more comments will bring more folks in. But let's get to our. I got to take a little break. So let me see. Let me find something to. Well, here. I'm just gonna find something to. Well, we only got like a half hour. I'm just trying to decide if I want to.
I popularized.
I want to see what this lady says. We can watch this. I'm just gonna. I'll even put this. Well, actually, no, I won't. This is my whole prediction just changed, and she's talking about Bitcoin. So I'm gonna play this while I take a little break, and then we can go for a little longer, I think. But I just need to give my voice a break and use the bathroom, that kind of thing. So we'll play this for a little bit. I will be right back.
Is the term "nothing stops this train." I was talking about like fiscal deficits. It's because we can't agree on how we're going to balance things. So this error just keeps spilling out as we fail to agree with each other. And in a Bitcoinized world, that can't really happen. If one central bank does things improperly, and that central bank, the Bank of England, did in World War One, they literally lied and cheated about how much money they were printing. They rug pulled not just their own citizens, as the global reserve currency at the time they rug pulled.
How does Bitcoin then come into the picture? Is it a viable solution?
Bitcoin Zella stands out with its simplicity and clarity. We've crafted an experience that anyone can dive into, whether you're a crypto expert or just a new to the crypto world. Now guess who keeps his eye on us? The author of best-selling book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And we want to take this opportunity and thank all the people who trusted us, and we read every comment. And the best part, it's free. Subscribing now means you will get all new information for free. Don't just follow the trends, stay ahead of them. Subscribe to Bitcoin Zella today and enjoy the new edge. Lynn Alden talks about why Bitcoin has no brakes. We'll explore her bold insights. Stick around to see what's ahead.
So I think if we imagine the Platonic ideal of money, it's a perfect ledger that can't be corrupted, and we can just like beam it to each other. We can just teleport it around. There's no friction. Now, obviously, the Platonic ideal does not exist. So the question is, how do you get as close as possible to that? I think in obviously the current era, the closest thing we have is Bitcoin, and that actually gets quite close to the Platonic ideal. The fiat system, there's no option. Like for Bitcoin, if you were operating in any sort of economic sense, you need a bank account, and every bank that exists exists by permission of the central bank and the governing body. And so you have this big closed source, fully centralized stack, and trust was mandate. You had to trust. And now at least you have the option to say, who do I trust and under what circumstances? Running a business, getting a paycheck as an employee. I mean, we see them when people are debanked. It makes hard to function in the modern society. And that's something that prior to Bitcoin, there kind of was no answer to. And now there's an answer to it. And, these systems aren't designed so that every single person is, say, fully sovereign for every transaction they ever do in their life. But they always have the option to kind of fall back into more self-sovereign aspects when they feel like they need to, or they always have that optionality.
Bitcoin and the broader crypto market took a hit after U.S. President Donald Trump made a bold statement about Iran's supreme leader. Trump claimed on Truth Social that the U.S. knows exactly where Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is hiding, calling him an easy target, though he clarified there were no immediate plans to act. The comment stirred global tension and spooked investors already uneasy over the escalating conflict between Israel and Iran. Following the post, Bitcoin dropped from $104,310 to $103,553 in less than an hour, before slightly rebounding to $105,450. Ethereum and XRP also slipped around 1.3%. The broader sentiment across the crypto market turned cautious as the Crypto Fear and Greed Index dropped from greed to neutral for the first time in nearly 2 weeks. Analysts are now watching closely to see if Bitcoin can hold above the key $100,000 level. Some warn of a deeper correction, potentially down to $93,000, while others believe the current support levels are forming the base for a stronger rally ahead. With institutional momentum still in play, the market's next move could depend as much on global headlines as on technical trends.
Gold is now useless.
Yeah.
But much like how gold was kind of treated as the backstop for the equities and financial markets, I think in a digital world, gold's kind of the backstop. If people have, what about tail risks of everything going offline or something? People do like the physical aspect of having, say, gold in their house or whatever. So it's not to say that it's useless, but it doesn't serve that same purpose of really trust minimize money.
Yeah.
And even like Bitcoin gives us totally new things you can do with it. Like you can do multi-sig custody
Yeah.
and split your keys on multiple jurisdictions, so that even technically a nation state has trouble getting to it in any sort of direct sense.
Yeah.
Whereas with gold, and this is really any real world assets, even if you put something like a blockchain on top of it, it's still tied to where's the actual custodian held, what is the legal chain that works there.
The Oracle problem, right?
Yeah, and like for example, and people often say, well, why can't you make like a gold-backed crypto? And it's like, well, they've existed for years. There are gold stable coins. There's a market demand for them. It's not very big, but it exists. And I can imagine, for example, if you want to, have access to gold, but you're in an environment where it's hard to get physical gold, you can't get the gold ETF, you can at least get this, semi-trusted chain of custody to hold that gap for you. But it's only the same problem that they ran into time and time again. The most credible way we have to get past this period of centralization. So for about 150 years, we've been in the period where, going back to my prior point, transaction speeds were speed of light, physical settlement was still slow. We finally invented fast settlement. Satoshi and all his predecessors finally figured out fast settlement.
Yes.
And then, we're kind of watching that catch on. It has to go through the massive network effect. It's up against the $100 trillion network effect of the dollar, the multi-$100 trillion network effect of fiat currencies globally, the whole global bond market, and all the governments tied to it. So this little open source thing is kind of doing this multi-decade path through this very entrenched system. It's gradually succeeding. It has things to navigate. It had to, navigate big countries trying to ban it and then figuring out they kind of can't ban it. And, politicians realizing that there's nothing to gain really from donors or anyone else, from voters, for being anti-Bitcoin. But there is a lot to gain for being pro-Bitcoin. And so it's kind of going through that game theory over time. There's a couple countries that are ahead of the curve and say, well, if other countries are going to be slow and even anti, we're going to be the ones that embrace it. It still has to go through some challenges. Like, if we do have, quantum computers, it's got to be able to make that change. And that has implications for signature types and potentially even block size issues with the length of those new signature types. So it has to navigate still, I think, some challenges ahead. But it's by far the best chance we have. And it's something that it's kind of fundamental. Like even if society were to rerun this whole modernization period multiple times, kind of like how the bicycle would always come before the car, would always come before the airplane, because basically you kind of have the predecessor stuff kind of built into it.
Anything into it, yeah.
We always would have Morse code before we have something like Bitcoin.
Sure.
And, Morse code could be called different. It could have a different, like, alphabet equivalent, but it still is basically Morse code. Kind of like how Bitcoin wouldn't necessarily have the exact parameters it has now, but something like Bitcoin, if it gets to this period, would eventually emerge. And I think we want it to succeed on the first try rather than have to kind of start this project all over again.
Bitcoin dropped 5.5% last week, slipping from $110,000 to just under $106,000 as geopolitical tensions between Israel and Iran split global markets. The fear triggered a risk-off reaction, pushing traders to take profits and scale back. But while the headlines focused on the dip, something far more bullish was happening behind the scenes. Institutional investors were quietly loading up. Spot Bitcoin ETFs saw another strong week, bringing in over $1.35 billion worth of BTC, roughly 12,662 coins. BlackRock led the charge, adding more than $1.1 billion through its iShares Bitcoin Trust. Ethereum wasn't left behind either, with ETF adding 191,057 Ethereum, driven again by iShares with over 138,000 Ethereum bought. Big names like MicroStrategy and Metaplanet also jumped in, acquiring more than $1 billion in Bitcoin combined. On the Ethereum side, whales and firms like SharpLink added hundreds of millions in Ethereum, even as prices wobbled. Meanwhile, USDT and USDC supplies surged, especially on Tron and Ethereum, signaling growing liquidity in the market. On-chain activity painted a mixed picture. Layer 2 Base saw user activity surge, while Avalanche posted high transactions but fewer active users. Ethereum held steady in total value locked. Despite market fear, the broader crypto story remains bullish, with institutions betting big that the next leg up is coming soon. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you.
Good grief, is that is that like an AI video, generated video? What's going on there? They kept saying Ethereum instead of Ethereum, which is the way everyone says it. I don't know, that was kind of driving me nuts. Obviously I didn't get to see like all this video, but I just kind of randomly picked it off my timeline so it could play while we I should just put lichens on there instead. All right, let's get to our Hedera news, because we got, we actually got quite a few to get through before we part ways here. So let's find our first Hedera one. I should really take advantage of the bookmark folders, by the way. I really ought to. Yeah, so we talked about the ETFs for XRP, but here's the HBAR ETF. ETF approval loading. HBAR is on the SEC's desk, backed by BitGo plus Coinbase custody, based on CoinDesk's HBAR index, and the comment window closes July 7th. They didn't reject it. They delayed it for serious consideration. So same as the the XRP one, there's like a time frame for these. It takes a little while. It doesn't happen overnight. And we got this coming, ETF approval would be a game changer for Hedera. And there is a source for this. Self-regulatory organizations, NASDAQ Stock Market LLC, order instituting proceeds to determine whether to approve or disapprove proposed rule change as modified by Amendment Number 1 to list and share trades of the Canary HBAR ETF under NASDAQ Rule 5711D, commodity-based trust shares. So this is the whole thing. If you guys want to read this, you can go find it. It's on the Federal Register. You can just go to Merlin Trader. And by the way, this guy has like, I'm glad he's posting something useful, because for a while there, he was like posting how he'd say like, oh, we hit this golden cross. And then like he'd do the same tweet once a week. It was the exact same tweet. I'm like, have we kept hitting the golden cross? I actually tracked it once, and the thing he said was going to happen did not happen. And I tweeted at him and said, hey, you said this last week, didn't happen. No response. So, but this is just him reporting the news, and we can see, we actually can go to the document itself. So a little more solid than the previous one. I thought this was big, and this is reported by our friend Crypto Wendy O, who has been making some Algorand content. I know she had a partnership with the foundation, and actually commented on my tweet yesterday saying that she has Algorand and is holding it. So that's pretty cool. Here she's saying Hedera, she's a big Hedera person too. She talks a lot about Hedera. Hedera among blockchains supported by new stablecoin clearing platform, Ubinks. A new stablecoin clearing platform supporting Hedera and multiple other chains has raised $10 million in seed funding led by Galaxy Ventures. The platform aims to standardize stablecoin redemption at face value, enabling regulated banks and fintechs to redeem stablecoins directly for fiat. Ubix plans to launch in Q4 2025 with backing from major investors like Coinbase Ventures, Paxos, and Ripple, and partnerships with key infrastructure providers to integrate stablecoins more closely with TradFi. One of the cool things that Hedera did is it made a stablecoin studio so people can create their own stablecoins, whether that's mostly I think that's aimed at institutions is my understanding. I think that's a really cool idea, and like something I'd like to see from other chains as well. They also did the AI studio, which I think is very smart because I think AI is going to be a major use for crypto. Hedera has been kind of leading the way on that. I think Algorand's doing okay with that too. We saw a demonstration of agents paying agents on Algorand, which is pretty cool. I see the Algorand comment. I will get to it when I'm done with the Hedera segment. I just want to get through the Hedera segment here. This comes via the block too, so that's good to see. Speaking of stablecoins, this comes right from the Hedera Foundation. We're excited to announce that the AUDD, the Australian Digital Dollar stablecoin, has officially launched on the Hedera network. So there's an Australian digital dollar right on Hedera. Through this integration, we look forward to driving digital payments through APAC and beyond. Remember how I mentioned the Stablecoin Studio? Leveraging the Stablecoin Studio, AUDD Digital on Hedera benefits from the network's enterprise-grade performance, including transaction finality in seconds, predictable fees of 0.001 US cents, about a tenth of a US dollar per transfer, and a carbon negative footprint. And by the way, that's about, I think that's 100 times what Algorand says. Maybe 10 times. I can't remember exactly. It depends on the day, but this is still considered extremely inexpensive. Through this integration, we look forward to driving digital money forward in APAC and beyond through real-world financial use cases on Hedera, from cross-border or micropayments to digital marketplaces and green asset flows. You can read more about AUDD on Hedera on our latest Hedera HBAR blog. Let me see, is there any more? I mean, it looks like pretty much all the same. This is the head of fintech and payments at HBAR saying the launch of AUDD as a native token on Hedera's transformative moment for both the network and the global stable coin landscape. AUDD's integration with Hedera expands its availability as part of a growing multi-chain framework that already includes Ethereum, Stellar, XRPL, Solana, and XDC. The blockchain agnostic approach positions AUDD foundational infrastructure for tokenized value exchange across DeFi payments, trade applications, empowering innovation while meeting the need of regulatory. So it's got a lot of other coins that it's on besides a lot of chains it's on besides Hedera. I know, Hedera's not a chain. We just don't have a good catch-all word for it otherwise. But yeah, I mean, that's just a good thing. Not much else to say. Wendio says nice Generation Infinity, major achievement. Congrats. Yeah, I agree. Good stuff. Not much else to say there. It's not a CBDC, by the way. You notice that that's a kind of an important distinction there. I thought I had one more. And we already covered the Capitol Hill one, but this is big. I don't know how much will come out of this, but Hedera did have meetings with people on Capitol Hill, which I think is really, really cool. And, including Dr. Lehman Baird, they've been hearing from him and experts from the Milken Institute and IFF. So these guys are getting a seat at the table, and that is a good thing. We covered this earlier, so we got a new council member too as of June 4th. I didn't cover this earlier. Fortune 154 technology leader Aero Global has joined the Hedera Council. What do they do? They develop technology solutions that help improve business and daily life. Well, gosh, that'll tell you exactly what they're doing. What is that? It could be anything. I just really hate generic descriptions. Like, tell me exactly what you do. That's like all of technology is trying to improve business and daily life. That could be everything. But anyway, they're on the Hedera Council, so that's good. They have 28 billion in revenue Arrow is not helping govern Hedera and bringing global supply chains on chain. So it sounds like they're actually using it. That's cool. Building a DLT-powered supply chain use case, decentralized governance, and node ops. Real-world utility is going on chain. And Crypto Wendia says, so many amazing real things happening. Congrats. I do think that's good. I think that's a good addition. I do want to see Hedera move away from, I want to see the nodes expand to non-corporate entities. I think that's a really important point when we talk about decentralization. By the way, I'm tripling up on Martin Shkreli. Got triple the viewers on X that he does right now. Assuming that's accurate. I don't know if it is. But it's fun to talk about. Anyway, so yeah, I think this is great for what's going on with adding Arrow Global right now. Adding a big chain. And I do think I've always been really bullish on the fact that Hedera has the attention of some of the biggest companies in the world. Nobody else is really getting that kind of attention. So they must see something they like. Definitely need to get usage up though. I don't know, do they talk about this? What status say? I was mostly talking about maintenance and stuff. Because I mean, last time I checked, they had like a handful of transactions per second, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe at most. Algorand was getting up into like the hundreds, and then TravelX left, and then it's down. But that's one thing. Hedera just needs to get more usage on chain for sure. But this is a good start. I think that's a good thing for them. All right, Demetrius has a couple of things. I want to start with, guys, Algorand is dead. What is happening in the previous cycle is a top 10 coin. I don't remember it being top 10. I remember top 20 for sure. Maybe it did get up there at some point. I just don't remember it being ever top 10. Not while I was covering it. Which goes back to about 2020, mid-2021. Was it ever, do you guys remember, has it ever reached that high? I don't recall it ever reaching that high. But anyway, regardless, that is something I've talked about, how when I first started covering it, it would be like, even low, it'd be like low teens, you know, like 12, 13, 14. Then it kind of creeped back into the 17, 18, 19, then the 20s and the 30s, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's been, you know, between the 40s and 50s. CTO even left Algorand. You know, people are concerned about that. And Demetrius says, I think the hype is in SWE right now, which is also solid tech and backed up by VCs. They have a high profile tech team. I don't even know what Algorand does anymore. Very slow pace. Here's the thing about SWE is I think there was a lot of momentum and hype for SWE, and I think that has been seriously curtailed by the realization of how centralized it actually is, because there was that huge hack and they actually had node runners shut down the chain for certain users so they could corral up the bad actors, which seems like a good thing, but it's not centralized. It's not decentralized. It just shows how the chain could just basically change their mind and say, you know, gang up on someone and completely block access. Now, in this case, it was done for a good reason, but I think there's a lot of concern that that could be done for any reason whatsoever. As far as Algorand, yeah, everyday Algonaut says Algorand is not dead. We were building. I still think there's a ton of going on in Algorand. I don't know what, I mean, that MasterCard integration is huge, and I just can't wait till it's in more countries than just a few European countries. Like, it's got to get over to the US for sure. That's going to be the big game changer, and I can't wait to try it out, frankly. And we just covered the Aeon thing too, that partnership with Aeon payments, you know, going to go to 20 billion users can pay for stuff. Again, not in the US. This is like Southeast Asia and Latin America and Africa eventually. I just don't think it's dead. Has it underperformed? Yeah, 100%, of course. I mean, I'm up on it, but I bought it in like the worst, you know, the lowest possible time, which would be like the best possible time, really. So I wouldn't say, you know, I wouldn't say it's dead. No, I don't think it's dead. Armani Bridge is adding new tokens now. Power, WTBC and CBBTC and native ETH. Interesting. Clam to be launched for public soon. Okay. Coolio. Let's see. I'm kind of curious if anything has changed. Nothing much. Oh, even further down. Well, that's not looking good. Is everything just dropping? I think to keep in mind, you know, everything is dropping. Like nothing is doing. You know, a few coins are doing well on the 24-hour, but most of them look like this. And one thing you can say about Algorand, someone said that it dropped more than other coins. I don't see that. Aramid Bridge. Okay, cool. You know, it's not even in the top 20 for, you know, Near lost a lot more than Algorand. Actually, Algorand, where's Algorand? Yeah, it's like 39th in the top 100 for losses. So so many other coins did way worse than, look at Dog with Hat. I should really like even out my Dog with Hat buy so I can come out with a profit. So people will say, yeah, people will say that Algorand has done worse. That's not always true. And everything's down right now. Sorry, I went by name, not, here we go. But it's all relative, right? Like look at XRP. I mean, my average buy was around 50 cents. So I'm still up 4x even in the downturn. That's important to keep in mind. I'm still up on SWE, even though it's $2.73. This was up of $4 before that hack. Really close to $4, and it just tanked since then. Chainlink, I'm underwater a little on. I was trying to see what else. I've got a little moon bag of Shiba Inu, so that's fun. Hedera, look at Hedera. But Hedera, I'm up 3x on still. It's definitely fallen, though. That's a bummer. Yeah, anything else? Like I said, I own Pi. I was mining Pi when it was still like a brand new thing. You just did it on your phone. You just had to hit a button every day. I don't know. There's like a whole like conversion thing you have to do. Sweet, I'm actually getting close to my, or I'm sorry, not Sweet. Near Protocol was up around $7. Everyday Algonaut says the foundation is launching the election of members to the XGov Council. The voting will start on July 1st. Yeah. And, you know, some people asked me if I was going to join. I got the impression it was meant for a very technical audience, so I just didn't, I didn't bother. I'll let people who have more technical knowledge than me do it. Spoon says that's a pretty good price for Near. I bought in around $1.14, and at one point it was up around 7 something. So it's fallen back quite a bit. This might actually be under my average buy because I think I bought on a previous dip. Probably wasn't the smartest thing of me to do, but I'm still to the good on Near. I took enough profit. I think I was in moonbag territory. Just seeing if there's anything else that I own. Yeah, Cosmos has been awful. Last cycle, Cosmos got into, I think it got like $30, $40, something like that. So I would not mind if it did that again. Demetrius says, the thing is, I am from Europe and I'm working for an IT integrator. I've seen the usage of Tezos, God's sake, blockchain for a European project. Is this real life? I used to own Tezos way back in the day. Actually, I sold my Tezos to buy Algorand because they both were available for staking. I bought Tezos because they had staking on Coinbase, and then Algorand came along and they offered higher staking. So here's the thing with Algorand. I'm pretty sure I bought most of my Algorand around 9-10 cents. I probably bought some higher, you know. Hard to know. I don't even know what my average buy is because I just put it to use. Me too, says Demetrius. That's cool. Yeah, see if there's anything in the top 10 that I own. I don't want to talk about Dog with Fat. That was such a stupid thing I bought. It's just a little bit. I just bought a little bit, but it was dumb. Gala was complete waste. We covered Gala earlier. Yeah, that's about it. All right, guys. Well, you know, we're going on 2 hours live, so I think that's pretty good for the day. I appreciate everyone joining us, whether you were on YouTube or X or Kick. I'm really hoping Asmongold is successful in working with. Oh, Aiden Ross is on Kick, and he's got like 60,000 viewers. That's crazy. It's been interesting watching people go from Twitch to Kick and like really crushing it and doing well. I'm trying to grow on Kick as well. Like, I just think it's cool to have having one more place with an audience, and I think there's like some revenue potential there. But yeah, I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching. Oh yeah, I was gonna say I'm looking forward to Asmongold working with X to build out their live stream into like a real thing. Jeezy Weezy says have a good weekend. Same to you, my friend. So that'll be really cool because I get the most viewers on X. I get more viewers on X than any other platform, all the other platforms combined. But there's no monetization, there's no ads, there's no nothing. I don't even really get that much, like in terms of building my X account. I don't think I haven't really seen it lead to new subscribers or anything. So, or followers. I get that more just from posting. So it would be nice to have that built out a little bit. Philip Riley says, take care, bro. Hey, you take care too. So like I said, thanks for everyone for watching. I appreciate everyone being here, and it's always fun to just like chop it up. Like the chat's my favorite part, to be honest. I love interacting with the chat. That makes it. I just wouldn't be able to do 2 hours. Like before, it was like 45 minutes used to be a struggle because I hardly had anybody chatting. You know, when I first started, I'd have like 2 viewers. So it's pretty neat growing that and seeing it expand over time, and actually being able to interact with people and get to know some of you folks. You know, some of you guys are here like every Friday, and that's really cool. So but enough about that. Everyday Algorand says have a nice day. You too, my friend. Everyone take care and stay safe out there.